If you bought a pre-construction condo in the Greater Toronto area between 2019 and 2021, you need to hear this. Some buyers are asking, is it worth just walking away from my pre-sale deposit? You might think the worst that can happen is you lose your $80,000, $100,000, or $150,000 deposit. That is the most dangerous assumption you can make right now. In Ontario, walking away from that contract doesn't just mean losing your deposit. It could mean being sued by the developer for potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars for the difference, covering their legal fees, and facing years of financial hardship. You could lose the keys, lose your down payment, and end up owing the builder a lot of money. I'm going to break down exactly how this happened in the Toronto market and, more importantly, the 3 critical steps you need to take right now if you think you can't close. The reality of the Toronto pre-construction market has completely flipped. For years, pre-construction was seen as a guaranteed win. You put down your deposit, the value climbs, and either you move in or assign it for a big profit. Simple and highly speculative. But now, with projects completing, we have a growing number of people facing a closing they can't afford, and many believe this legal loophole. I'll just default, and my deposit is the limit of my loss. To be clear, developers in Ontario have the legal right to pursue the buyer for damages beyond the deposit. The deposit is an initial payment. It is not a penalty cap. When the buyer signs the purchase agreement, they're entering a legally binding contract. If they fail to close, the developer is entitled to sue to recover all their losses, which is the difference between the contract price and the purchase price they eventually resell the condo for, plus all the legal and selling fees. Developers are starting to use this right aggressively. So how did we get here? It's a 4-part storm that hit the GTA market hard. First, the boom. Prior to 2021, those years had an incredible run. Interest rates were low, money was cheap, and buyers weren't just buying homes, they were buying appreciation. Projects in the GTA, and specifically in Toronto, were selling out in days, sometimes hours, before a single shovel hit the ground. Highly speculative, driven by fear of missing out. Second, the rate shock. Between 2022 and 2023, the Bank of Canada raised its benchmark rate 10 times. This completely flipped the math for anyone waiting to close. The 5-year fixed rate soared from under to well over 6%. The impact was due to the massive jump in rates meant buyers qualified for far less. Third, the market correction. Because of these rising rates, condo prices across Toronto have softened, dropping from the peak of March 2022 at $820,000 average price to $701,000 at the time of recording this video, which is approximately a 15% drop. Fourth, consumer behavior. The pandemic changed the demand for condo living. Tenants and end users no longer wanted to live in a small shoebox. Larger spaces to accommodate working from home and living in a condo as a home, not a hotel room, was desired. The impact was developers were designing and selling smaller units to attract investors. The faster they reach the 70% sales requirement, the earlier they can get construction financing from the banks. Smaller units were quote unquote cheaper and easier to sell. Consumer behavior changed after the pandemic, killing the demand and sales for these smaller units. Now let's look at the math. Imagine you bought a pre-sale construction condo in 2021 for $700,000. You put down 20% deposit, which is $140,000. Now, similar units in the building or neighborhood are selling for $600,000, which is approximately 15% lower than the original purchase price. If you can't close, you lose your initial $140,000 deposit. The developer lists the unit and sells it at $600,000. Now, in this case, the developer would have lost $100,000 compared to your original contract price, which gives the developer the right to sue for the $100,000 difference, plus their relisting costs, their carrying costs, and all their legal fees. Hypothetically, you've lost your $140,000 deposit, and now you're on the hook for another $100,000, which is the difference between the two sale prices, which is a total of $240,000. Plus, you are on the hook for the reselling fees, the legal fees, and carrying costs, which you can see will balloon easily over $250,000. The law is clear. It doesn't care if your income changed, your mortgage renewal killed your ratios, or your appraisal came in low. In the eyes of the law, you are responsible. Now, let's talk about the number one safety net pre-construction buyers relied on, the assignment. For many investors and some end users, the plan was always, if I can't close, I'll just assign the contract and walk away clean. In theory, it sounds simple. Find someone else to take over the contract. But in practice, especially in today's market, it is one of the hardest things to pull off. And here's why. Developer restrictions. You would have to have your lawyer review the contract to understand the assignment terms and conditions the developer allows. The developer has to approve the assignment sale. So even if you find a buyer, the final approval has to be provided by the developer. Second, massive fees. There are assignment fees, real estate fees, legal fees, and developer legal fees to account for in the assignment process. Third, lack of demand. Why would a buyer pay a premium to take over a pre-construction condo when they can walk into a sales center of a brand new project and get new buyer incentives, designer upgrades, and flexible deposit structures? The market simply doesn't want assignment contracts right now. There are lots of resale condos on the market for a potential buyer. Unless the pre-construction condo is heavily discounted at a big loss, there are lots of product on the market available for the buyers to choose from. If you are counting on an assignment as your exit strategy, I urge you to be extremely cautious and consult a lawyer right away. You may discover there is no easy way out. Let's talk appraisals. This is where many deals fall apart, even for buyers who have their financing in place. When the pre-construction building is finally completed, the lender sends in an appraiser to verify the unit's value in today's market, not when you bought it 4 years ago. The appraisal reflects current market valuations. If the appraisal comes in below the contract price, for example, you agreed to pay $700,000, but the appraisal comes in at $625,000, your lender will only finance up to 75 or 80% of the $625,000. The difference, which in this case happens to be $75,000, you would have to come up with in cash at closing. This is called the shortfall. You, the buyer, are now responsible for covering the $75,000 difference out of pocket in cash on closing day, above and beyond all the closing costs. For most, this is impossible. And once you can't cover that gap, the legal dominoes start to fall. This is why having a strong lawyer is important, which leads me to my final point. If you bought a pre-construction condo and you're worried about not closing, get ahead of this problem right now. Here are 3 things you need to do right away. Step number 1, rerun your numbers and check your contract. Talk to your mortgage broker or your bank immediately. Have them rerun the numbers under current interest rate conditions. Pre-approvals expire, policies change, and your qualification from 2021 is not your qualification today. Confirm you can still close. Second, find your value. You need to know exactly what comparable units in the building or the neighborhood are selling for today versus your contract price. If there's a gap, you have some time to come up with a plan B. Step 2, get independent legal advice. You need a real estate lawyer on your side who specializes in pre-construction condos. Again, I'll emphasize, there are lots of lawyers out there, but you definitely need a lawyer that specializes in pre-construction sales. A 1-hour consultation might cost a few $100s, but it could save you hundreds of thousands in damages and years of stress. They will read your assignment clause, outline your exact liabilities, and help you find options. Do not assume your real estate agent or the developer's representative will handle everything. You need a lawyer. Step number 3, plan for the worst case scenario. If an assignment is allowed, understand the fees and restrictions. If it's not allowed, you need a plan for the worst case scenario. The smartest play is minimizing your losses early rather than waiting for them to grow into a financial disaster. This could involve exploring alternative financing options. To be clear, this isn't just about investors. It's about regular Toronto buyers who saved for years to secure their future. Now, the good news, knowledge gives you a plan of action and a sense of direction. When you understand your exposure, your financing, and your legal rights, you can make smarter moves and avoid becoming one of those horror stories. The bottom line is this: your deposit is not your ceiling of risk. It is the starting point. If the market shifts, you could be on the hook for so much more. Protect yourself before you ever sign. And if you have signed, get advice and get clarity immediately. No pre-construction sale is worth betting your entire financial future on it. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more transparent, data-driven real estate insights. If you have questions about your specific contracts or pre-sale you're about to close, my contact information is in the link below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.